Friday night, Richmond Raceway. The engine noise hasn't stopped ringing in your ears, and you don't know it yet. But the next 90 seconds are about to blur the line between a sponsorship deal and something much bigger. A truck rolls onto pit road. Under the lights, a scheme flashes past, colors that don't belong to just any team. Nobody says the name yet, not the drivers, not the sponsors, just a decal, half seen, and a feeling that something is about to happen that nobody fully expected. That single qualifying lap hasn't even started. But it's already carrying more weight than anyone in the garage is ready to admit, and by the time it's over, nothing about this weekend will look the same. Shane Van Gisbergen didn't arrive in NASCAR quietly. In 2023, he won on his Cup Series debut at the Chicago Street Course, a feat so rare that the last driver to pull off something similar was Johnny Rutherford, back in 1963. From there, the trajectory moved fast. Xfinity starts, a full-time Cup seat, and a string of road course wins that included Mexico City, Chicago, Sonoma, and Watkins Glen, all in his rookie full season. But with that success came a label, and it stuck like a wound instead of a compliment: road course specialist. Everyone agreed on what he could do with a road course in front of him. Nobody agreed on what he could do on an oval. That question sat unanswered for 3 full seasons, discussed constantly among fans and analysts alike, but never truly tested under real racing pressure. Road courses reward car control and technique honed over years of international competition. Ovals reward something entirely different: patience, restraint, and a feel for a track that punishes the smallest mistake. Until Richmond, nobody had proof either way. On August 14, 2026, Shane Van Gisbergen climbed into the number 7 Chevrolet Silverado RST, fielded by Spire Motorsports, for the Black's Tire 250 in the Craftsman Truck Series at Richmond Raceway. That seat carried its own backstory. The number 7 truck wasn't originally built around him. It was supposed to belong to a 2-time champion who never got to finish his season in it. Instead, on this particular Friday night, it belonged to Van Gisbergen. His Truck Series resume to that point told a story of steady progression. A 19th place finish at Indianapolis in 2023, a career-best 3rd at Watkins Glen, and another 3rd-place run at North Wilkesboro. Start by start, he was building oval credibility. Even while the specialist label followed him everywhere he raced, each finish added a small piece of evidence to a case that hadn't been fully made yet, and each one drew more attention from fans tracking his progress, start after start. And then there was the paint scheme. The number 7 truck carried the Hendrick Cars.com sponsorship, Hendrick Automotive Group's branding, on a Chevrolet that wasn't a Hendrick Motorsports Cup entry, but carried the family name anyway. Nothing about it was confirmed to mean anything. But the coincidence, the colors, the name, the timing, was sitting right there in plain sight for anyone paying attention, and it was impossible to ignore once fans started screenshotting the paint scheme. Before a single lap had even been turned in anger, fans had already made the connection. Somewhere in the comments, a joke started spreading. Half serious, all in caps energy, that the HendrickCars.com scheme meant SVG to the 48 was basically already confirmed. Others went further. One fan admitted they weren't even joking anymore, wondering if this might finally be the year Hendrick found a way to win on a road course again. Another fan, Straight Champion 77, put it bluntly: "We've seen what he can do with terrible equipment at ovals," and then dared to imagine what those numbers would look like in Hendrick-caliber machinery. That sentiment kept surfacing in different forms across replies and threads, a recurring theme that his equipment, not his talent, was the real ceiling holding him back. Before the race even started, there was swagger too. Confident trash talk from fans predicting he'd outrun Corey Heim outright once the green flag dropped. Nobody knew yet that Richmond was about to turn every one of those jokes into something a lot harder to laugh off, or that the numbers were about to back up what fans had only been guessing at. Speaking of numbers worth talking about, this channel, NASCAR Insider TV, is closing in on 1,500 subscribers. And if these deep dive breakdowns are the kind of content you want more of, hitting subscribe helps make that happen, and keeps videos like this one coming. Now, back to Richmond, because the story was only just getting started. Not second, not third, not close, first. Shane Van Gisbergen claimed his first ever NASCAR oval pole, beating Caden Honeycutt by just 0.14 seconds. Richmond isn't a superspeedway where raw bravery decides the outcome. It's a tight, technical 0.75-mile track that punishes anyone without throttle control, rhythm, and restraint. This wasn't luck. This was skill translating from one discipline to another, in real time, under pressure. Qualifying laps at Richmond leave almost no room for error, and a margin of 0.14 seconds over a full field is as thin as it gets at that level of competition. It came in just his 5th career truck start. And suddenly, the jokes from a few days earlier read differently. Because a joke with a stat attached to it stops being a joke. A sponsorship is not a contract. A poll is not a transfer. And yet, the questions didn't stop, and they only grew louder as the night went on. Here are the facts as they stand. Trackhouse Racing and Shane Van Gisbergen signed a confirmed multi-year contract extension in August 2025. He has publicly called Trackhouse home. There is no confirmed offer from Hendrick Motorsports, no leaked contract, no official statement from Rick Hendrick, but NASCAR contracts are long, and careers are longer. Seats open years after reputations are built, and teams routinely track a driver's trajectory for seasons before ever making an approach. This isn't a question about tomorrow, it's a question about what his ceiling does to his value 5 seasons from now, when the current contract cycle eventually runs its course. Fans have started saying it plainly now, that if he were driving for Hendrick or Penske, he'd likely already be a championship favorite. One fan admitted they never thought they'd be asking this question, wondering aloud what his numbers would look like without what they called Trackhouse's shitboxes. Every time the Hendrick theory gets raised in conversation online, the same counterpoint follows it immediately. There is no confirmed deal. Nothing here is official. What exists is a pattern worth watching, not a transaction that has happened. Silly season speculation in NASCAR often starts exactly this way, years before any seat actually changes hands, built on small signals rather than confirmed news. Before Richmond, critics could always fall back on the same explanation, that he was a road course guy having a moment. At Richmond, that excuse had nowhere left to hide, and the silence that followed said as much as the stopwatch did. A road course specialist is valuable. A driver who can win road courses and contend on ovals is a completely different asset. A franchise-caliber cup driver. One good run gets explained away. 2 good runs become a trend. A pattern becomes a reputation. And reputations are what move drivers between teams, sometimes years before any contract is ever signed. Team owners take notice of exactly this kind of shift. And so do the sponsors, who ultimately help decide which drivers get the best equipment. Trackhouse remains his team today. There is no confirmed Hendrick move. There is no leaked deal. Nothing written here should be mistaken for an announcement or treated as one. But the question doesn't go away that easily. What happens if this wasn't a one-off? What happens if the next oval goes the same way? At what point does a coincidence become a pattern the entire garage has to react to, publicly or otherwise? That single lap at Richmond didn't answer the question. It just made sure everyone in the garage is asking it now, and that alone changes how every future race gets watched. If you enjoy real NASCAR breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next. Drop your take in the comments. Do you think this was just a sponsorship coincidence, or the first sign of something bigger brewing behind the scenes? And share this with a NASCAR fan who needs to see it before the next race weekend arrives.